Hi, I'm Sheri Riley. I am a wife, mother, daughter, and entrepreneur. And we all know that is not easy. But I have discovered how to make it simple. For the last 20 years, I have been on this amazing journey of discovering and learning the answer to the question, how do we stop spending 100% of our time on 10% of who we are? And what I have found is that we do that by pursuing peace, choosing clarity, and living courageously. And I call it exponential living. And what I have found is that so many of us high achievers like me, go-getters, busy, goal-oriented people, we've gotten to a place in our lives where we're frustrated, we're overwhelmed, we're stuck. We know there's a problem, we don't know how to fix it. So what you're going to find on this video today is how did you get there? How did you get to this place of frustration? But you're also going to get the how. How do you move forward? How do you get started? So on the video today, what we're going to talk about is how do we go from being frustrated to having peace? How do we go from confusion to clarity? And how do we go from just being stuck to moving courageously? You will learn to have peace in every situation, and peace gives us clarity. And when you have peace and clarity together, it empowers us with the courage to make any decision and move forward. Peace, clarity, and courage is what allows us to live in our power. When I was 15 years old, I had my first colonoscopy. Colonoscopy at 15. I mean, what does a 15-year-old have that can stress them out that much that they would need a colonoscopy? And yes, I was a high achiever. I still am. I was a go-getter. I still am. I mean, I was an A student. I had all A's. I was working part-time, full-time. I worked 20 to 30 hours per week, sometimes 35 at Wendy's. I played basketball. I had a very active social life. I played softball. I mean, I was really active. And a part of the stress and the anxiety came from that. But the majority of it came from just my environment. See, I came from a family, as I know many of you probably can relate, where anxiety and worry was also an expression of love. You know the grandmama and the auntie that's like, I am so worried about sister so-and-so, you know, or I've just been sitting here thinking about Blah Blah and John and I'm just so concerned about them, right? Or when you're really pursuing something, we also attach the anxiety and the stress about that as a positive. You know, if it's time to go get something, I mean, you got to get reared up and stressed out and pressed up because you got to go get it. And so at a very early age, in addition to me working hard and pursuing excellence, there was also this idea that if you really, loved someone, you was concerned and worried about them, or if you was working hard and pursuing things, you had to really stress about it. And so this idea began to develop. And also around this age of 15, I got this idea, this dream, this visual of working in the entertainment industry and living in Atlanta. Now let me put a little framework around that. At this time, there was no music industry in Atlanta. I'd never even been to Atlanta. I mean, at that time, Kenny Babyface Edmonds and Antonio L.A. Reid, who went on to found LaFace Records, one of the most successful record labels in the industry, they were in a group called The Deal. It was an R&B group, and they were out touring the world. Just to give a little bit more perspective around it, Jermaine Dupri and Dallas Austin, two of the most prolific producers out of Atlanta, were in middle school. So when I was telling my friends and family that I was going to live in Atlanta and work at a record label, I sounded as realistic as someone who said they were going to build hotels on Mars, because it didn't exist. But I had this dream, and I was committed to pursuing this dream. And so I went off to college, the University of Louisville, and while I was there, I did everything I could to learn about this music industry and about entertainment. I read all the trade magazines. Every week I would type, yes, that's when we had typewriters, I would type 20 to 25 cover letters and resumes. And I'd mail them out to key entertainment executives, record label executives. And I would also call them. I would make 20 to 25 calls a week. I created my own radio program with the radio station on campus. I managed the DJs. I threw parties on campus. Any and everything I could to just learn about this industry, to pursue this dream that I had. And it took about 8.5 years, a whole lot of prayer, a whole lot of no's, and a whole lot of pressing and more anxiety and more stress to get to this amazing dream. And I did. I was blessed to become the marketing director at LaFace Records. Here I am, my dream job, everything I'd ever wanted. I'm working with some of the most creative people in the music industry that are still 25 years later making an impact in this industry. I work with some of the biggest artists in the world, Tony Braxton, TLC, Usher, who are still global recognized superstars. I was making 6 figures in my mid-20s. I was able to buy my mother a home by the age of 27. Everything I ever dreamed of. And I was miserable. I was stressed. My hair was falling out. I didn't have a personal life beyond what I was doing at work. And what I discovered is that I wanted to have more than just a really good career. I also wanted to have a great life. And that's what took me on this journey of how do we stop spending 100% of our time on 10% of who we are? How do we not allow the career and the pursuit of excellence in our professional lives to completely drown out who we are in our personal lives? So I had this amazing job, one part of my life, but I didn't have the other 90% of who I am. And so when I resigned, I went on this journey of discovering how do I get that other 90%. And I found 3 things to be critical to that. The first thing is I had to give myself permission. And I want you to write that down. I had to give myself permission. I had to give myself permission to recognize that that was just one of my dreams. Working at a record label, working in the music industry was one of my dreams. I also wanted to be an entrepreneur. I also wanted to be married and have children. There was other things that I wanted to pursue, so I had to give myself permission to check that off the list. Some of us stay in jobs much longer than we're supposed to because we don't give ourselves permission to recognize, here's what you wanted to accomplish, you did it. Now it's okay to move on to what's next. The second thing is that we have to give ourselves grace. What does that mean, Sheri? What that means is we have to forgive ourselves for decisions that may not have been the right decision or mistakes that we made. We have to give ourselves grace to realize it's okay to do something different, or it's okay to say no and make room where you already are. And the third thing is I had to learn that in any situation, you have to determine what will you give up to go up. What will you give up to go up? Whenever it's time to make a decision, whenever it's time to move forward, whenever it's time to make change in your life, whenever it's time to transform, we have to be committed to what will we give up to go up. And what I discovered when I gave myself permission, when I gave myself grace, and when I committed to what will I give up to go up, I realized that there's 4 pain points that all of us reach at some point. We either reach one of them, multiples of them, but you are going to reach one or more of these pain points at some point in your life. The first pain point is what's next. What's next? Meaning, I have everything that I want. I have an amazing career, amazing family. I'm active in my community. I don't want to change my career. I'm not really looking to stop or end anything, but I do need to create the bandwidth in my life for other things. One of my very good clients was a very successful producer. She had an amazing career. She had an amazing social life. She was very engaged in other activities and community service, engaged in her church. But she realized that she was stretched so thin that she was just on autopilot, running from meeting to job to this to that, and she didn't have bandwidth in her life for other things that she wanted to do. And so we were able, in our first sessions working together, to literally discover and find 20 extra hours in her schedule every month. What would you do with 20 extra hours, right? I mean, you could read, you could sleep, you could volunteer at your children's school, you could go on a trip. We were able to extract 20 extra hours in her schedule. The second pain point is now what? Now what? I did it. I reached my goal. Now it's time to move on to something else. That was me at LaFace. I reached my goal, was very successful at it, but it was time to move on to being an entrepreneur. So the second pain point is, now what? But you have to be at that place of peace, clarity, and courage to even decide what it is you want to do and now what that is. The third pain point is this it? I mean, is this it? Like, I have pursued this dream. I have worked this hard. I have taken all these classes, gotten all these degrees, and I don't even like this. I don't even like what I've achieved. I don't like the seat I'm in. And it's okay. Remember, you got to give yourself permission to even accept that truth. And so many of us get to that point in our careers where it's like, is this it? Is this really what I work for? I met someone recently, and they basically pursued the medical profession, did very good in that profession, but realized they didn't want to be a doctor, not in the capacity that they were working. And so they ended up making a career shift and a career change, and they're very, very happy now. And the fourth pain point that we reach is, how do I live? How do I live? And this is about transition, whether it's forced or unforced. The empty nester whose youngest child has now graduated and went on to college. The family who has now, decided on getting a divorce. The couple that's decided on getting a divorce. The 39-year-old who's married for the first time or having their first child at 40. The person who's had an amazing career and just got let go, laid off, downsized, whatever the buzzword is. The reality is, you no longer have that job. How do I live? The doctor just said to you, if you don't make some real changes in your life, you're about to have high blood pressure or diabetes. So you have to make some real transitions and choices in your life. I just spoke to an amazing group of women a couple of days ago, and one of the women there shared with me that her youngest child is graduated and her husband's job has transitioned him where he used to travel a lot. Now he's not traveling as much. They're nearing retirement. She's been a mother and a wife for 20 plus years. That's what she knows. But now that the children's gone and the husband is about to retire, she's asking herself, how do I live? Who am I now in this new norm? So those 4 pain points that we reach, whether we reach one of them or multiples of them, this is how you get to that frustrated place, that confused place, that place where everything used to be so clear and now you don't know anymore. There's nothing wrong with you. Let me repeat that. There's nothing wrong with you. You haven't made any bad decisions. All you've done is reach one of these pain points that is inevitable for all of us. You've either reached what's next, you love your life, you just need to create bandwidth for other things. Now what? You've accomplished it. It's time to move on to something else. is this it? Like, I've pursued it, I got it, but this ain't what I want to do. And how do I live? Which is forced or unforced transition. You're at a major change in your life. To grow through these 4 pain points, we must be ready, willing, and committed. We must be ready to give ourselves permission, willing to give ourselves grace, and we must be committed to what we will give up to go up. But even before we can be ready, willing, and committed, we have to make a decision. I mean, when I was on Roland Martin's show promoting my book, Exponential Living, he kept asking me, but where do we start? Where do we start? And we have to start with making a decision. So what I want you to do on this video is I want you to do what I did that made all the difference in the world. Is I started with a 21-day peace and positive mind fast. 21-day peace and a positive mind fast. And what that means is for 21 days, I would only allow myself to think peace and positive thoughts. And yes, many of us get peace confused. We think that peace is when everything around us is going smooth. It's just the opposite. Peace is that inner decision that we make that regardless of what's going on around us, whether things are going great or whether things are going awful, that we're going to stay centered in our peace, our calm, because that's really where our power is. And when we commit to peace, pursuing peace, and when we commit to positive thoughts, it changes everything. It changed everything for me. And what I've been driven by as I've been on this 20-year journey of pursuing peace, and then others have called me and I've shared these same principles and ideas with them, and they've experienced transformation, is there's such a power in peace and positive thoughts. So I want to share some things with you that I want you to do during these 21 days. So during this 21-day Peace and a Positive Mind challenge, and I'm challenging you, is I want you to pay attention to your thoughts. I want you to pay attention to how many negative thoughts just automatically come up. I mean, you'll be surprised. I was surprised. My clients have been surprised at how many negative thoughts come up. So the first thing you have to do is you got to pay attention to your thoughts and how many negative thoughts we think throughout the day. The second thing is I want you to pay attention to the triggers of these negative thoughts. When you have the negative thought, I want you to pay attention to what's going on around you. What are the triggers that are happening outside of you? Or what are the things that are happening inside of you that's allowing this thought to come up? So I want you to pay attention to the triggers. The third thing is I want you to pay attention to the people, the conversations, the activities that trigger these negative thoughts. Is it a person that you talk to and it triggers these negative thoughts? Is it social media? Is it books that you read, TV shows that you watch? And I'm not saying anything about reality TV, but when you're watching reality TV or watching certain movies, does it start penetrating or making you have these negative thoughts? I want you to pay close attention to the environment, the conversation, and the people, or what you're doing when you have these negative thoughts. The fourth thing is I want you to pay attention to how you were feeling before the negative thought. How are you feeling before the negative thought? This one was big for me because I began to really track how I would have these amazing experiences and then automatically I would go to this place of depression. And I got so conflicted because some great things happen, but why am I feeling so badly? And what I realized is I began to track that whenever I have a great experience, when I go back to my normal place, it's my normal place. It's not a low, but I misread that emotion because I thought I was going low when really I was just leveling back out. So I want you to pay attention. What are the emotions that you have right before the negative thought. And then the fifth thing, I want you to pay attention to your words and your actions after you get the negative thought. After. Are you talking to your family? Does something that your child do? There's something that your child just did that it's not bad, but you responded with a little temper, a little attitude. I want you to pay attention. What are your words? What are your actions after the negative thought? So I'm going to run through those 5 one more time. During this 21-day Peace and a Positive Mind Challenge, it's a challenge I'm giving you. I want you to pay attention to your thoughts and how many negative thoughts you have throughout the day. I want you to pay attention to the triggers. What's happening when you have this thought? I want you to pay attention to the people and the conversations and the activities right before the thought. I want you to pay attention to how you're feeling before the thought. And lastly, I want you to pay attention to the words. What are you saying after you have this negative thought? And with anything, when you're trying to change a behavior, the first thing you have to do is recognize it, which that's what we are doing with the negative thinking. The second thing you have to do is you have to create a new action, and that's what we're doing. But then you have to actually do the new thing. So you have to become aware, you have to create a new action, and then you have to do it. So what I want you to do is once you recognize the negative thoughts, I want you to replace it with a positive thought. I want you to replace, it's not enough to just recognize and pay attention to the negative thinking. You have to immediately replace it with a positive thought. That could be a Bible verse, that could be an affirmation, that could be a mantra, that could be just saying what I'm thinking is not my truth. This is my truth. But it is imperative that you replace the negative thought with what's positive. I have done this 21-day Peace and a Positive Mind Challenge many times because it's an ever-evolving process. As we continue to grow, we have to continue to grow. And what I can tell you with all certainty is every time for myself and every time my clients have done it, we have had a 100% success rate when we commit to the process, when we commit to tracking our thoughts, and when we commit to the action of replacing that negative thought with a positive thought, a mantra, an affirmation, a prayer, whatever that is for you, me and my clients, we've had a 100% success rate. And what I've experienced and my clients have experienced is so many great changes in our lives. For me personally, my confidence grew. My temper, which I had a temper, got so much better. My fuse that was really short is now no longer even existent. I'm not short-tempered anymore. I'm able to genuinely enjoy conversations with my children, with my daughter, that before was just a nuisance, being very honest. I just wanted her to be quiet and sit down because I needed to figure things out. Where when I went through this 21-day Peace and a Positive Mind Challenge, it allowed me to get more centered and more open. It allowed me to laugh more. And it allowed me to truly get into that place of clarity where I realized where I really wanted to spend my time. And I was able to control my time more instead of my time controlling me. I was able, as I shared on the Steve Harvey TV show, I was able to say no and recognize that no was a complete sentence. Recognizing that saying no to others wasn't anything personal against them. It was just saying yes to me. See, when I was able to go through this challenge and recognize that so much of my mind had been consumed with negative thinking and replace that with positive thinking, it opened up a reality for me that allowed me to up-level in my time commitments, in my relationships, and in the things that I was able to do and experience. Most importantly, it allowed me to learn how to get connected to myself. And on my next video that I'm going to share, I'm going to talk about how we can get disconnected from who we are. So many of us know what we do. We know our career title, we know our certifications, but we don't know who we are. And a lot of that comes from just getting disconnected through the course of our lives. So in my next video, I'm going to share how do we reconnect to who we are. In the comments below, please share with me what has been robbing you of your peace and what have you been doing about it. I would love for you to share this video and also be on the lookout for the next video where we talk about how we get disconnected from ourselves and what we have to do about it.